Okay, you guys, we are waiting for just a few more people. It is a black moon, which is very rare. The next one doesn't appear until 2028 of the seasonal kind. And I posted a bunch of information on my feed there, and I will post after this with some more information. We are looking at pretty much what your astrology imprint is on this one, and how I use it during my private sessions when you guys order readings, and what it actually means for me. So I am not a master astrologer. I never pretended to be, but I do adhere to certain things in the astrological realm. And when I look at certain patterns, even with numerology, I look at patterns every single day. So I don't make that the primary focus, but that actually colors what I see, what I feel, what I sense, and it's sort of the veil through which I see things. And I see how, for instance, how you're going to react to something I'm going to say, or whether or not you're going to accept something I'm going to perhaps see. And whether or not you'll actually go through with half of what you say you're going to go through with. Or if you have, a delusional aspect where you pretty much don't look at anything that is said and you just continue on your own path. And I can kind of see if there's going to be an obstacle. So that's part of it. The other thing I wanted to actually address here is the last time we were in this very same seasonal black moon. The black moon actually happens here at 11:06 p.m. Pacific time. So for some of you, it actually happens after midnight. Part of what I have been sensing all day is, okay, this is a shadow period that you need to actually pay attention to. The things that happened back in May of 2023, I believe it was May 19th. I have to go back and look again. I believe it was May 19th, where the last seasonal, yes, the last seasonal black moon actually happened. And the thing is we have seasonal black moons that happen every, sooner with monthly seasonal. But this was a seasonal black moon, which happened in May 19th, 2023. The next one actually doesn't happen until August 20th of 2028. The monthly ones that happen sooner. I think it's like 29 months, and then that's where the definition of a black moon is as the second of two moons that happen in any singular calendar month. But this is different. Seasonal black moons happen once every 33 months. 33. That number in itself, ancient Chaldean Hebrew numerology 33, written on the Dead Sea Scrolls, the inside of the walls of the Great Pyramids. Everyone knows that 33. You know what's odd is that 33, okay, I'm just going to share this. 33 is actually printed on my bottles of Rolling Rock that I drink. That this is the only thing I drink now is Rolling Rock beer, because it comes from central Pennsylvania where I was raised, and my dad would drink it, so that ended up being the kind of beer I drank, because he drank every once in a while. I mean, hardly at all. Um, and then I tasted it and I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. So 33, the number 33 is actually on the bottle itself. If you look up 33, it's so filled with meaning. I'll do a section on numerology at some point, but the black moon, we have to look at what was happening May 19th, 2023. Just for a second. We have to look at, where were you? What was happening in your individual timeline? And how did you deal with it? That's the most important part. The black moons deal with issues that you buried on purpose, that you purposely avoided. Shadow stuff. You didn't want to look at it. You didn't want to think about it. You just wanted that particular aspect to go away. So, 5 days before the last one was the last time I talked to my mother while she was still coherent in this lifetime. And then she died months later at the end of that year. So, every time I had to call her, it was always some sort of, and people that know me personally know that I had issues with calling her, but I did it out of respect for my father, who said, he wanted us to get along. So I acquiesced and I said, okay, I'll play nice and I'll call my mother. So the last time I talked to her, where she was actually coherent to a point where I could understand half of what she was saying, was Mother's Day of that year, which happened to be 5 days before the last black moon. Right now, 5 days before this moon, this black moon, let's see, 5 days before today, that would have been the 17th. So that would have been pretty much when I, like on the 18th, I heard the first good news about a lawsuit I'm in. So, I mean, things are moving forward, and I'm actually addressing that. Instead of dreading it, I am looking at it head on and dealing with it. Now, a lot of the people that I read don't want to look at whatever's happening in their lives. They're just hoping it goes away. They're wishing it into the cornfield, like some sort of Twilight Zone episode. And, I mean, the whole thing is that, there are dark moons, there are blue moons, and then there's these rare black moons. And the black moon is the most potent because you have to actually look at this in order to complete the rest of the cycle you have here in this particular lifetime. So obviously, I have mommy issues because, I never got along with her, and I did it out of a sense of honor to my dad, that I would actually just try to call her, and, you know, every holiday just try to make nice and just be there. And I even did a couple of readings for her, which I said I would never do for family, and she talked me into it, you know, with various family members that had died. And she asked me to take a look, and I argued with her, and then I finally just did it just to be nice. The whole reason behind the black moon situation is that I have to look at it like it was some sort of stepping stone. Okay. The last one was me having the last coherent conversation with her. And then when she crossed over, and I know this is going to offend some people, but I actually was relieved that she crossed over, because that was an extremely, if not the most difficult dynamic or life lesson that I had to go through, was dealing with her. All right, so now we're at another one. And now I'm going forward. I mean, it's just odd that this week, 5 days before, the same as last time, 5 days before, I'm hearing information where it's going forward now, because I'm actually addressing the harm that was done and some of the legal implications of what transpired there. And I'm actually looking at it. I have my sword in my hand and I'm charging forward. So, the black moon is about whatever you didn't do the last time this was a black moon, you need to complete it. You need to do the other part of it. You need to close it up. And I waited, and I was patient, and I waited. And a lot of people aren't patient that I read, and I try to remind them, look, you got to be patient with this process. So now it's come full circle. Now it's come all the way around. So the whole reason you look at the last time the black moon was present here in a seasonal form, again, it was May 19th, 2023. You have to look at where you were and what was happening. Were you deluding yourself about something? In my case, I was just being nice to be nice. And yet there was certain treachery that was happening underneath that whole niceness on my mother's side, that I had sensed, but I didn't address it, and I just let it go. I figured that later on, whoever was supposed to come forward, or whatever lessons that we're supposed to present, I was going to address them then. But I always had this sense of wanting to throw up every time I talked to her. And that's what happens. Sometimes you pick very difficult karmic relationships to go through, and a lot of them are family. Sometimes I read people that have had, some sort of an abuse that happened with a family member. And, I have to help them, sort of go through not only understanding what happened, but, and, everybody thinks that psychics are about, oh, it's all about forgiveness and it's all about, balance and whatever. No, it's not. Sometimes it's about looking at this and realizing that you survived that. There's a certain strength, there's a certain honesty, there's a certain, you know, forward motion that happens when you get beyond those extraordinarily destructive and abusive situations that you signed on for. So when I read people that have had an abuse happen where they couldn't do anything about it, but yet they're feeling the PTSD of whatever the effects were, it's not just about being a victim. It's about you were a victim, but yes, you survived that moment. You could have, like, gone off and done some other lifetime where you destroyed yourself, but you didn't. You survived and you carried on, and maybe a lot of you pushed that moment down and you just didn't deal with it. The dark moon is one thing, but the black moon makes you actually have to look at it. You have to look at it today, tonight, tomorrow, whichever time frame you're in. When this hits, you have to look at it, you have to deal with it, you have to see it for what it was, and then you have to move forward with whatever your plan was for yourself, whatever legacy you want to leave for yourself. That's what you have to do. So, when I look at this, I just think it's ironic that 5 days before today, after 2 years of waiting, we have movement. And we're seeing that we were right, that there was a situation and it was illegal, and we're in it. And this is going forward, where other people just laughed at it and maybe thought it wasn't ever going to happen, and oh, I'm a psychic, and you know she's just delusional. No, I held my ground. I held my ground. And here we are, full circle, the next black moon, which deals, ironically, with my mother, which is the same situation. Obviously, I signed on for that to learn certain things about myself, to learn about self-empowerment, self-love, to never judge myself by what someone else was doing. It doesn't matter that she gave birth to me. It matters that I took what I was given and I made it into something worth leaving behind. So if we get into a situation where we're living an aspect of this particular lifetime, we don't like what's going on, we don't like the government, we don't like the world, we don't like the fighting, we don't like the power trips that government leaders are trying to impose, the politics, the nonsense, the using us as pawns on a chessboard. If we don't like it, we have to see where we sift out and where our particular role resides. And we have to look at, what is it that we're supposed to do? We're supposed to just sit there and take it, or we do what we normally do. And I told you in past podcasts, I am a whistleblower in many lifetimes. I am the person that recognizes a wrong and I have to declare it, but I do it very smartly now. I do it behind the scenes. I make sure that I do it at the exact precise moment where it will have the best impact. Where it will actually make the most sense, where it will actually affect change. And I've learned the power of waiting. And I've learned the power of holding on to what I know and only revealing at that precise moment. And I try to teach you guys this. I try to teach you how to wait. Waiting is hard. Waiting seems like you're being punished. Why can't I just move forward, and just have something that is good for me? Because the waiting teaches you how to be wise about that choice, how to effectively parlay that choice into something that is meaningful for you and for the rest of your soul circle, the people around you, and you have to see that this matters. People think I tell them during a reading, you have to wait, and it's going to be a timely process. Well, they have to understand that the waiting is part of your lesson. You can either be gracious about it, or you can deny it until there's no denying anymore. Today is that day. Black moons are showing you you cannot wait beyond this point. If you have to leave a certain situation, if you have to leave a relationship, if you have to let something go in the past that was great while it was going on, or maybe it was horrible, but you just didn't seem to be able to let it go. Now's the time to decide. What kind of future do you want for yourself? That's the other thing. What kind of future do you want? Do you want the kind where you're just on a leash and you're being led by whatever's out there? Or do you want to know why you're really here? So, the whole thing with astrology is and black moons are part of astrology. And the fact that they're called black moons is interesting because it basically says, take the veil off. That dark side of yourself you didn't even really want to address, you didn't want to look at it. You got to look at it now, because you're going to lose traction. You're going to lose whatever you gained, and you're going to take a few steps back if you don't, until the next black moon. And the next one occurs August 20th of 2028. This particular kind, the seasonal kind. The seasonal kind, the way I see it as a psychic, the seasonal black moons, um, which happen every 33 months, and the monthly black moons that happen every 29 months. The difference is minute, but from me as a psychic, I see the difference as the monthly ones were more of they were addressing things that you do as routine. And any routine that you are in the midst of doing or performing that doesn't work for you, you need to release. The seasonal black moons are more about you got a little more time, and now you have to do the really hard stuff. That's what I see it as. It's like the really hard stuff, the stuff that you were hoping it wasn't going to rear its ugly head again. You didn't have to look at it. These people that cropped up in your life and caused you so much pain and controlled a lot of who you became, or events that are happening right now that you don't want to look at, that you don't want to address. You don't want to address, like people going away or people falling out of your sphere. And you don't want that to happen because you were tethered to them in some way. You didn't know how to survive if they weren't there because they defined you. They defined you then. They don't define you right now. And the ones that actually love you and did love you and really had honest feelings towards you in these lifetimes in 2025 karmic relationships and these types of agreements, there are numerous loves in the lifetime, numerous, not just one. I mean, that was back in the day, 200 years ago, when people only had a life expectancy of maybe 25 years old. So, yeah, for your whole life, you loved one person. But now we're in a different situation where people are living past 100. I mean, I personally expect to live past 155 or beyond, but that's just me. And I have no intention of cycling off until I'm done doing what I got to do here. And back then, the life expectancy was about 25 years old, 20 years old, depending upon what war you were part of or, you know, what dangerous situation you assigned yourself to. So now you can have 3 cycles or 4 cycles within one lifetime. That means you can have 3 or 4 different major, you know, like landscape changes where everything is different. Your partners, your family, what you define as family, your career, your hopes, your dreams, whatever you're building can be different 3 or 4 times now in the same lifetime. I mean, there's such a guilt that's assigned to, oh, you need to stay with that one person for 50, 60, 70 years. That was fine back in the day. But once you have learned whatever it was that you came to learn with those people, it's okay to step off of that track once you've learned it. You don't need to stay with that same person or that same situation out of some sense of loyalty because that's what you were taught to do. If whatever it was that you agreed to learn with that person is over, then what I have found when I read people is that if they continue on beyond that point, if they keep going and we're reading about something that should have ended maybe 10 years ago, it creates karma. It actually causes toxicity, and one or both partners develops like serious illnesses. It could be cancer, it could be you know some sort of mental illness. Whatever it is, they're pushing it down, and this is because they overstayed their welcome. And there's such guilt associated with that because that's how it always was. But that's not how it is now. Look, lifetimes aren't that easy to come by. So when you get one and you reincarnate and you come here, and I say that being I was raised Catholic, so I say that being raised Catholic, yes, reincarnation is real for me. I have read it too many times and it's real. So when people come back and they reincarnate and they come back, with certain life lessons or certain karmic agreements, there are 3 to 4 times the amount of karmic agreements than there were 200 years ago. That's because we're more advanced as souls. That's because we can do it now. When you hear that saying that God wouldn't have given us something unless we were able to deal with it. We wouldn't have been given a task or a situation if we weren't able to handle it. Well, that's what that means. We're able to handle that now. There is no guilt with this. There's only, you can step off and decide I'm not strong enough, or you can stay on and see what that's all about. The guilt has stopped so many people from, guilt is actually worse than fear, as far as I can see. When I read people and I look at guilt, that actually has a longer uh, lifespan than fear. Fear is transitional. It seems to only last for, sometimes it's throughout the lifetime, but it's only throughout the lifetime when I notice that it's attached to guilt. So when you have guilt and it seeps into your DNA to that level, that's when you start becoming a product of your environment. You don't you're not a product of you anymore. You're a product of the people around you and what they think and what you're expected to be. I mean, I thank God every day I never have said that to myself, that I am not a product of what I'm expected to be. I will always be different from what somebody supposes that I'll be tomorrow. I have no intention of being that. I am loyal and I'm honest and I will say what's on my mind. But if you expect me to be a certain way for the rest of eternity, it's not going to happen because I evolve and I learn. And I learn like AI learns. AI learns every single minute of every single day. AI learns how to be better. I learn how to be better. I'm not AI, but I am similar to that where I don't allow myself to be roped in by some sort of boundaries that don't belong to me. So okay, so here I am and I'm talking about this black moon. And I'm also talking about, astrological implications when I'm doing readings. So let's talk about me as an example, and then I'm going to invite you guys to, ask about yourselves so I can sort of teach you how this works for me. I don't know if it works this way for everybody else that uses astrology, but this is how I do. And I'm not a master astrologer. I am intermediate, maybe, but I use this to help me see colors, to help me see details, and maybe how you're going to react to certain things. So, for instance, I'm a Scorpio and I have Cancer rising and I have Moon in Gemini. So, what that means is, you know, like, make no mistake, I'm a Scorpio. I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of my life, I am a Scorpio. And anything that equals a Scorpio, yes, that's me. The Cancer rising tempers that to such a degree that it softens a lot of that. And I become more nurturing, much more of a teacher than I am a Scorpio. I take what I've learned in the street in other lifetimes, my street sense as a Scorpio, and I try to translate that into a lesson that you guys can understand. And I try. I do try. Moon in Gemini makes me, especially because I have Moon in Gemini 1 degree, it makes me a speaker. That the best parts of me come when I am speaking or trying to communicate with people. not when I hold it in and keep it all to myself. It's when I come through with something that is profound for you. When the translation hits its mark, hits its destination, that's when I'm good. When you guys get it, when you guys can take what I've given and parlay that into something for yourselves, for your own lives, that's when I've done my job. So that's kind of how the astrology part works. So Sun in Scorpio, sure. At the end of the day, you cross me, you don't want to cross me. So, but it takes a whole lot now for me to get to that point, because the Cancer side, the rising sign, is how you, in my mind, how you appear to other people. So I appear much softer. You know, on a daily basis, how you appear to other people, that's your rising sign. And the moon is what makes me happy. So talking makes me happy, music makes me happy, you know, communication, moving fast, dancing, anything like that makes me happy. Rhythm makes me happy. Any type of movement, you know, where it's fast and it's quick and it's smart and it's something that is worthy of me, makes me happy. Um, so that's kind of how I view it when I read you guys. You know, so if you actually know what those, you know, your sun, moon, and rising is, that's actually helpful for me, because then I can see if you're able to, you know, if it's going to take longer for you to learn a certain lesson or get through a certain cycle in your life. It'll sort of forecast for me what's coming. So, okay, I'm assuming that some of you have actually, or you already know what your astrological makeup is. So, if anybody wants to ask me any questions about how that works, or about the black moon and what it might mean for you, or you remember back to May 19th, 2023, what was going on then for you? What was happening? What does that mean for right now, tonight, tomorrow? Like, what are you facing now that you didn't finish then? So, if anybody has a question, send me a request and I will put you on, and then we'll try to discern what it is that it means for you. All right, hold on. All right, I think Chris is on.
Hey, what's up, Space?
Chris, do I know you? Have you been here before?
I have not. I am randomly here, but
Okay.
what were you guys? I'm sorry. What were you guys talking about?
You wanted to ask a question, right?
No, I just got here. I was kind of
Oh,
just wanting to recap a little bit.
you were requesting to speak. Okay, so turn your mic off. We'll take you off, and anybody else that wants to ask a question about what we're talking about with the black moon or astrology, we can go from there. But I think bottom line, most people don't want to admit to themselves that there is the dark side of themselves about, you know, a certain couple of situations, maybe just one situation that you have never really allowed yourself to look at. And now you have to, because right now, this is where the veil is up, the shadow side is presenting, and you either look at it now or suffer the consequences later. That's all that is. It means, and suffer the consequences means that by delaying it, you're wishing away a couple of years of your life. That's, if I had to say it in a very simple term, that's what it means. It means you're wishing away a couple of years of your life to a lesson that you had an opportunity to take a look at today. But for whatever reason, you were afraid, you were not ready, you were scared, beyond scared, and you thought it would just go away. Like the longer it went on, it would just go away. That's not true. Again, this same seasonal black moon will occur August 20th of 2028. I'm not saying on that particular day, but I'm saying right around that time, we're going to revisit the same stuff. If you didn't fix it this time, we're going to look at the remnants of what you didn't fix next time. All right, we have a couple of people on here, Michelle and Catherine. All right, let's go with Michelle first. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
Hopefully you understood at least a teeny bit of what I was saying.
I'm trying to understand, but when you said 2 years ago, 2023, May 19,
Mm-hmm.
I just lost my mom in March of 2023, March 8th.
Wow.
And I think till this day, I'm still mourning her.
Well, and the thing is that you're allowed to still mourn, but let's honor her. Let's take what she taught you. Let's not stop what we have to do as you're continuing on.
I was very close with her, and I would
Well,
call her all the time.
and
I
the
miss
thing
that.
is that you can still talk to her, and she can still guide you every day. Look, every morning I talk to my dad and both my grandparents every single morning,
Yeah,
and they're gone, and they're the only three on the other side that I actually talk to. And it's because what they left behind with me was they gave me the baton. I'm supposed to carry on with the rest of it.
right.
See it as you're running a race. You're in the Olympics and you're running a race, and somebody hands you a baton, one of your teammates, and you just stop because you're paralyzed and you don't know what to do. And you were supposed to carry on for that particular section. See it as that. You were supposed to take those laps now.
Right.
You had the baton, it was given to you. And to look back and stop yourself and become paralyzed or in a comatose state because they're not there. They're there. You think when I cross over that I am not going to make myself known in spirit form? Hell yeah. I mean,
I,
come
s- I still talk to her, like, if I'm facing a dilemma or I have to make a decision. I used to call her and ask her opinion. So I guess I kind of do the same thing now.
Well, why are you crying then?
No, I just miss her.
Celebrate her. She's still there. She's
Yeah,
still there. Maybe she's not there where she can hug you, but she can hug you in spirit form, certainly.
yeah,
And now she's no more in pain like she was.
yeah, I know. I'm grateful for
Okay.
that.
Okay. So,
Yep.
would you really wish her to endure the pain that she was going through in order
No,
to stay there and
no,
hold your hand while you
no,
were
not at all.
right? So, let's look at it that way. Let's look at it that way,
Yeah,
that you released her so that she could no longer be in pain, but you didn't release her altogether. You still talk to her.
yeah, I do. I actually do.
So why do you doubt that the messages you get from her or any type type of comfort or guidance you get from her is less than real, all because she's not there in body.
I actually have her voice taped from a message she had left on my cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually said "I love you," and I play that every time I miss her. I want to hear her voice. I play it back.
That's good.
Isn't that awesome?
It's major. So, what I'm seeing with you is that, you know, you're missing her, but you're missing the fact that you defined yourself by her being there instead of realizing she gave you a purpose now, just like all mothers do, with their little ducklings that they have to they have to let them go and let them swim in the water.
Yes,
And
yes.
sometimes that's hard for the mother duckling, duck to do. She doesn't want to let her little ducklings go in the water, but you have to allow the cycle of life to continue. And you have to honor the elders that came before us. And they never
That's true.
left unless I mean, you're kind of dishonoring her by saying she left. She didn't leave. She's still there.
She's just not in her physical body, but
She's
she's still
not
here.
in pain
Right.
anymore.
Anymore. Yep.
She did her karmic duty and what she agreed to do while she was here. She did that.
Yep.
So there's no
Well,
reason to cry except for feeling sorry for yourself. And I get it. But
well, I think more of I'm like her because she teared up right away. You know, we both wore our hearts on our sleeve type of thing. Very emotional.
yeah,
But she always after me to lose weight, and I finally did. And I hope she's proud. I dropped 30 pounds
that's huge.
to be healthy. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that we love that you're doing that for her, but I want you to do it for you.
Uh-huh.
Not so somebody else can look at you, but because it extended your life and your life purpose and you're able
Oh,
to
yeah.
stay here longer because you dropped the weight that was causing you discomfort.
Yes, and I'm proud of myself that I did it.
Now, some people
Definitely.
they can weigh more and they're actually healthier because they weigh more. It
Uh-huh.
just depends on your particular spiritual makeup and synastry, whether or not you perform better at a higher weight or a lower weight, or you're right in the middle. And so I don't subscribe to, oh, you need to be exactly 120 pounds for, this and that. Like, I mean, honestly, that's just such a fallacy because it's where you perform the best. Where
Yeah,
you're,
no, I did it medically for my medical reasons. Being diabetic, I needed to lose
well,
weight, and the doctor was
well,
very proud of me for that.
and that right there has extended your life, and the reason you have to continue and do the rest of the work you have to do.
Yes,
So
definitely.
a lot of people will gain weight so that they can deflect and maybe not concentrate on what they agreed to do while they were here because they're hurt or because they feel that they're not seen. A lot of people gain
Right.
weight because they feel not seen.
Right.
A lot of people do it because, I mean, like thousands of years ago, it was so that you could survive in
Hmm.
extreme weather conditions. If you weighed a little more, you actually survived.
Right.
So it just depends on how you feel and are you able to have the mental acuity that you have and still perform at your peak level doing whatever you're doing. Like right now, I feel like I'm performing better than when I was on
Hmm.
Haunting Evidence, and I was on
Right.
that series and television. I feel now I have much more of a handle on why I'm here. When I was filming all those episodes, the major concern was how my hair looked, how my makeup looked. I mean, and it really should have been about the case.
Right.
And I understood that lesson about image and how I looked. And I was constantly so busy that I didn't have time to gain weight. I haven't really gained that much more weight, but now, you know, for any extra like 10 pounds or whatever, I feel so much better now. I'm just so much softer now and compassionate, and I understand much more of what I'm looking at. And I have the energy of much more energy. This is what's weird. I have much more energy now than I did while I was filming. I was constantly exhausted,
Wow.
constantly exhausted. And that sort of tells you should monitor your weight by, do you feel at your peak level? Do you feel at peak performance? Is this who you are? Or are you doing this and still being tired? I was exhausted. I
Wow.
could barely, you know, I don't know how I made it through some of those nights. I had 4 hours sleep. It wasn't just the sleep though, the sleep deprivation. It was the stress and dealing with some of this. The crime scenes I was looking at were awful,
Mm.
and the weight that you're at. And I was telling my neighbor down the hall about this like a couple of years ago, and she's a plus size model, and she was saying, maybe I should lose weight and become a regular size model. And I said, you know what, you do where you feel at your peak level. If you become a bitch because you lost 30 pounds, then
No.
that was worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's like if
Yeah.
you become somebody else and you become like this possessed evil individual that causes everyone else discomfort, and
No, that's not good.
no one wants to be around you, well then why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, no. I feel good. It's just I have a bad back, but I feel good.
Well, and a lot of times it's not the weight, it's what you're eating.
Right.
you know like I said, I studied nutrition for over a decade, so
Oh, forget it. I'm
a
a
lot of
sugarholic.
times, the the back pain could be due to, you don't have enough oils in your system, you don't have enough lubrication,
Mhm.
and a lot of times it has to do with moisture. And the only way moisture stays within the bones or the body or the joints is if you add oils and lipids back in. That's
Mhm.
where my brain function is off the charts. I have butter and olive oil every single day. It doesn't matter what I'm cooking, that goes in it.
Right.
And why do you think I'm so good at what I do? Or I think I am. Because my brain is on fire 24/7, much more than it was when I was filming Haunting Evidence. And I figured out that I'm going to eat what makes my job work and what gives me the most information,
Mhm.
why I'm here. And my body will adjust. And it's so funny because like any weight that I gain, I was telling somebody else this, any weight that I gain, I got it all in my breasts. Like my breasts became huge and I was like, "Oh my god, I wanted that all my life." And I was like, I mean, at one point, and this was a very low point in my life, I was considering getting breast implants, but I was like, I that's where I gained the weight, which is very indicative of a person who has cancer rising.
Mm,
If cancer is in the top 3, you know, and cancer rising, I should have had big breasts all along. But here's the deal. I am now feeling more like me than I did then.
mhm,
This is who I actually am. That other person that was on TV, that was who I was for like a minute.
mhm.
That was not the full breadth of who I am, the
Right.
full scope of who I am. This is very close to what I'm supposed to be.
Well,
So
I'm
that's how
also a
you have to judge.
Scorpio, as you
Yeah.
know. I'm also a Scorpio, but I don't know what if I'm
You don't know
in
your rising
Cancer.
or your
Yeah,
moon?
no, I have no clue.
All right, go to that link that I gave you. It's if you go on to astro.com,
Yes, I went in there, but
okay,
I
go
tried
to
to.
go to
Uh-huh.
personal portrait, which is one of the free horoscopes. Go to free
Personal
horoscope
portrait. Okay.
and personal portrait and scroll down to the bottom, past all those like computer generated
Hmm.
paragraphs. Scroll to the bottom and you'll see like 2 or 3 grids that actually they're charts.
Oh, okay.
And that information will give you what you need as far as your houses and
Hmm.
what sign your sun, moon, Mars, Mercury,
Okay.
Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, all that. So,
I'll
that's
check
where
it out later.
the
Mhm.
ascendant in the second chart is your rising sign.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you, Carla. That was interesting.
well, and the thing is that you should, I've been wanting to teach women this for a long time, that, this image thing where it's not just me, it's like other women I meet where, like I said, my neighbor down the hall, and she's actually more beautiful at this heavier weight than she would have been, miserable and angry
Hmm.
and and bitter, at a lower weight, just to prove a point to whatever agent or modeling agency that she was more beautiful at a lesser weight.
Mm,
Because beauty is how your personality shines through your actions, your skin,
hmm.
your eyes, your intent level. The beauty is what shines through that. It has nothing to do with how you fit in your clothes.
Right. Well, I'm 60. I'm going to be 66 in November, so I don't have anybody to look beautiful for. It's all just for
You
health.
have you have yourself and your husband, but
Well, yeah, but I don't have to get all beautified for him. He
yeah,
loves
but
me
but
anyway.
you know what? The thing is that even if you gained 5 pounds from this, just be careful, with your
Hmm.
sugar levels. You can get the same high that you used to get from processed sugar
Hmm.
by more natural ways of adding that type of carbohydrate to your system. Like,
Right. Hmm.
it was funny. I had when I was having my wisdom teeth out like years ago, when that happened, they were saying to me that I should eat complex carbohydrates because, my grandfather had diabetes, but I didn't. I reacted to sugar
Mm,
system. So, like, I couldn't eat things that were loaded with sugar right up front, like a piece of fudge.
hmm.
Like, I have a hard time eating a whole piece of fudge without wigging out.
Wow.
So, it's not that I faint or anything. It's just that I change personalities and I become this other person. So I noticed that if I would eat complex carbohydrates,
Hmm.
like starches, and that's
Right.
what the doctor said to me. He said, He said, look, eat potatoes, eat yams, eat sweet potatoes,
Right.
eat pasta,
Mhm.
anything that has like a complex carbohydrate string where it breaks down slower.
Right. Instead of straight sugar.
And it
Yeah.
gives you the sugar you need for
Mhm.
that quote high, but yet you can sustain it.
Right.
Try that for yourself instead.
Mhm. I will.
Try pasta.
Oh, I love pasta.
You know, rice doesn't have quite the nutritional value as pasta. Pasta
Mhm.
has additives, but pasta will give you the same sugar high without eating sugar,
Right.
you
No, I'm a
know,
lot better now
and
with it.
use it
Mhm.
with, vegetables and whatever.
Right.
But the key is that this is what I learned. I will always add either some butter to it,
Mhm.
like butter that's lactose free, because I noticed that I respond better to that,
Mhm.
and it tastes more like butter than any butter I've ever had.
Right.
And I was raised in dairy country in Pennsylvania, so trust me, I know
You
butter.
know.
Yeah. And olive oil. I make sure I do both of those things every day. And the lipids in my brain, you know, like making those margins in the brain and lubricating them every single day so that my mitochondria fire off the way they're supposed to. That's what I'm doing. I'm eating to supplement that. And the rest of it is all just whatever. My beauty shines through with who I am,
Right.
not all the rest of this nonsense that everybody else was trying to make me think that I was. And I was never happy with that. I was like, all right, fine, but you know, like I never really went along with that, but I just sort of played along for a little bit because I knew that television was a great way to reach all of you. It wasn't really my end destination. I knew that. But me speaking, that was always there. That was always there. And that was my voice. Good luck trying to shut me up, you know? So, anyway, hopefully something I told you helped you and
Yes.
you're able to take away something.
Yes, it did.
Let me
Thank you.
know, go on YouTube and say what your takeaway was with that. But I
Mhm.
just think that, you doing a certain amount of weight because some doctor said you had to do X amount of pounds and this and that. You know what you do where you'll be able to monitor yourself as long as you pay attention.
Right.
Just be very observant about your mind
Mhm.
and mark where you feel tired. Stop eating that plate of dinner, that plate of pasta you fixed yourself,
Mhm.
and put the rest in the refrigerator as leftovers. That's what I do. I
Mhm.
stop eating at the point where most people don't do that. Most people don't monitor when they actually feel full.
I do. I don't serve myself a lot to begin with, and I
And
stop when I'm full. Mhm.
yeah, you just stop
Yep.
when you feel satiated, when you feel full.
Yep.
And that's the exact amount you should be eating for the energy you need. And the rest of this is nonsense. I'm sorry. It's just nonsense. And I'm talking as somebody that came from a beauty pageant background. So it is nonsense. And you know what? It is what it is.
Mhm.
I'm here to try to convey whatever I'm telling you guys. And if something that I have said helps you, well, then I did my job. You know, just
Thank
take
you.
from it what you will. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Carla.
Happy Black Moon. Okay. So, anybody else have a question they want to put forward about any of this? About, you know, any type of astrology connection to you, like your sun, moon, rising, and how that plays in, like, how do I use that when I'm doing a read and I'm looking at you? It's not a major part of my reading. I mean, to be honest, I see what I see. And then the playing cards I'm holding in my hand are basically just there to create a rhythm. I don't really interpret most of what I'm seeing. Sometimes I have the cards speak to me and tell me certain signs of something I'm looking for. But most of the time, I'll see the image and the cards will just sort of echo a confirmation of sorts. So that's what the cards are for. But as far as the astrology goes, it just tells me how you're going to deal with what we're talking about, whether it be in a good way or a bad way. And I just think that using astrology for things like, I use it for, when I'm casting my little white light spells, I I do protection spells and I do things to help me calm down, and I cast spells for health, making sure that I am at my peak performance for all of you and for myself, and making sure that every day I don't get sick. And I'm doing pretty good so far. And I just make sure that, um, that I not only do I provide protection for myself, but that I illuminate myself with whatever I need to know to do the next thing. So, again, the black moon has more to do with it's time you deal with whatever was going on back in 2023 in the month of May, May 19th. It's time you deal with that for real and not just say you're dealing with it and not push it down and suppress it to the point where it makes you sick. And you actually look at it and see what that was all about. Or otherwise, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of not dealing with it until the next time this rolls around. So being human is being in a cycle. Cycles happen in lifetimes, especially in the physical plane on Earth, where water is a great component of what we're made of. And cycles and cyclical repeating patterns happen. This is part of our physical existence here. So if you don't do it now, you're going to have to do it again in 2028. For me in 2028, it's more about reaping the rewards of what I'm doing right now. The fact that I took a shot and I took a chance and I took that bull by the horns and I did what I was supposed to do. As scary as it was, I did it. So 2028 for me will just be reaping the rewards of that. And here was the lesson for me. My life is not going to change at all. I'm still going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing readings until the last day that I take a breath. I'm pretty sure I'm never going to stop, because why? Why would I stop something I love so much? And so for me, I'm kind of looking forward to the next one, because I'm like, okay, let's finish out this last little part. And here's a tip I want to give you guys. It wasn't as bad as it was in 2023. 2023 was more of the shocking part of it, and this one in 2025 is more like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I imagined it to be. I don't know if it's the same for all of you guys, but from my vantage point, I really expected it to be much worse. And that's just human nature to exaggerate something like that, because you're afraid. You're afraid that you won't be able to get through it. You're afraid that you won't have what it takes to you know, do what you need to do and be successful. So it's human nature to put yourself through those kind of fears. But if you do make it through, you do get rewarded, and that's what the next black moon's going to be about. And possibly like the next thing that I didn't want to look at, which is fine, because now I learned it's not so bad. It's not so bad looking at it. It's not so bad facing all this stuff. It's actually okay. It's never going to be as bad. It's kind of like when people speak about, oh, in the light of day, it's not as scary as it is at nighttime. It's kind of like that, because this is nighttime. This is the black moon. It's not as scary in the light of day when it actually happens. So if you guys can possibly hold on to that, that will help. Anybody else have any questions before I sign off on this very special, rare black moon? Any questions about any of this? If you do, send me a request right now. Otherwise, I'm just going to sign off and see you guys next time. Going once, last call, going twice. Okay. We're going to let it go for here, and I wish you guys a good evening, Friday evening, Saturday morning for those across the pond. And I hope some of the elevated stuff that I talked about got through to you guys. I tried to say it in a simpler way so that it was understandable, but let me know. This will be up on all the platforms. Go on to YouTube. That's the newest one, and make yourself known. Subscribe over there, not because I need subscribers, but because they actually send you a little message that says there's a new podcast or a new post. So you can actually comment over there. I've allowed the commentary. So try to be good, try to be nice, try to be respectful. And I wish everyone a very enlightening, illuminating black moon. All right. Talk to you next time.